Curse words and sarcasm were used in the making of this video. Hello, Jamie back with Ink Road Stamps design team for Salty Card Creations. So I'm using Evil Queen Roadie 17 this week, and I did bring in the Bad Witch stamp set as well for some of my sentiments on this one. So I started with that Roadie 17. I love the fact that this one gives you the Bad Witch images in smaller form and of course in silhouette. And so I did end up cutting them apart. It's okay, you can piece them back together just like a puzzle. But I started with some white cardstock here and some VersaMark ink. And so I will say this, I used Ohuhu marker paper, and I don't think that was the proper paper for this one. It was just, it didn't adhere down as good as maybe, I'll explain in a little while. But, so I stamped it with that, and then I brought in, this is like Perfect Pearls, I think it's called Jacquard pearls. It was a set that I picked up from Nanny back, you know, when she was cleaning out some of her stuff when I was there helping her, so it ended up in my bag instead of the donation pile because I wanted to try. So this is me trying. I'm playing. I haven't done this before. This was new to me. I just knew that it was a possibility, and so that's what I was going with. I also know that you can use the Perfect Pearls medium. I don't know if that would set it better, I guess, but ultimately I just ended up coming in with it, dusting it off once I was all done, and I liked how this one turned out. It did stick in a few spots, and I think that was my paper choice on this one, and so that's why I said, you know, maybe my paper wasn't the greatest. So once that one worked out, I thought it'd be fun to try it on some black cardstock. I am using black cardstock from Close to My Heart, so it's kind of got a, I don't know, like it's got a sheen over I don't want to say a sheen, but it's got like a finish over the top, so it doesn't really absorb ink as well, I think. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, I brought in a russet red, and then of course I brought in a brassy gold color to kind of just pop. And this one was probably my favorite panel just because I took the time to do the lips on this one and they really stuck out, and then of course the gold on black was absolutely gorgeous. So it took a little bit more time because I was a little bit more careful with this one, at least color wise, and so, but it really didn't take very long at all. And then of course I just buffed it off again, so of course it's going to stick where that ink was, and so therefore, you know. So on the Perfect Pearls website it says you can set it with water. I tried that with this one, so I tried setting it with the water. It set okay on the black cardstock. The white cardstock did not set. Like I went over it with my finger and I could rub it off. So I did end up going outside with like the Krylon varnish. It's like a fixative. So I did go outside and set those with that and then let them dry overnight. So while those were drying, I decided to do some coloring. So I stamped out the two that I wanted from the Evil Witch stamp set and then brought in my Ohuhu markers. I kept my color palette super simple, so I did some neutral grays in the darker tones, and then of course I brought in that one lighter tone for kind of my white shading. But of course there was a lot of black on these because they're Evil Queens, right? So coloring in this one, and this was my first time coloring these, so I did do some stippling with that lighter gray onto the fur jacket to kind of give it a little bit of texture to kind of signify that it was fur. I don't know if it worked or not, but you know, I was just coloring, having a good time. So I went with my darkest two colors here. So I started with the darkest, I think I did NG9. I might have only done NG8. I'm not exactly positive. And then 7. And then kind of went from there. The purse I wasn't exactly sure how to color, so I ended up just coloring it black. I maybe should have looked at the stamp before I colored it, but it, you know, it looks fine ultimately. So for her hair, I go in with my darkest tone, and then of course my second darkest tone, and I'm just going to color that up from there. And then did I bring in a third one? I did bring in a third shade here, which was a little bit lighter, and kind of to give it a little bit of highlights. So I am going to come back in with that lightest color that I used kind of for my white, and just do the other side, add a little bit of texture to her hair. And then of course, trying to find the right proper reds here. So I'm just kind of coming in with a nice bold red color. All of my color blends are on my blog if you're interested at inkyandscrappy.com. If you're interested in my Ohuhu color blends, they're all there. So if you want like that red, I know it's 15 and 14 in the old one, but my 14 is dead and I threw it away and I couldn't remember what my replacement was, so I had to like play a little bit. I want to say it was like tomato, and I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. Anyways, I did bring in some glitter gel pen for those finer detail areas, just, you know. And then of course a gold shimmer pen to do the crown on this one, and a couple of gold accents for the evil queen here. And so for this one, I did pull up the images on my phone, so I kind of reference them when I'm coloring things, because sometimes, you know, I try to make them, these I wanted to kind of make them look like the actual characters at this point, and so that's kind of what I do. I, you know, Google images and kind of copy colorings from there. So kind of keeping with my same, and this one was, grays were all the same. I think the only thing I brought in extra for this one were the purples here. So I went with my darkest purple and then a lighter tone of purple to just kind of pop it up. So to color the dress and give it a little bit more flow, coming up from those ripples kind of help give you a highlight and low light, and so it kind of gives you a little bit of a fabric movement, as well as the chest area there. I like to make them look like they have a little bit of cleavage or a little bit of boobs, and so coloring that a little bit lighter, or making kind of, you know, making it look like there's a highlight on the top of their chest helps with that part. So I did bring in those glitter gel pens again. So I had to get some glitter paper out because, yeah, these evil queens needed a little bit more shimmer and shine, and since we're doing all glitz and glittery, of course I had to bring in that one. But I don't like wasting my glitter paper, so I did bring in some die cuts and cut out the centers, so that way I get, you know, a little bit more mileage out of those more expensive papers. And then for the inside of my card, so since I have extras here, I'm just going to bring in my paper cutter, kind of cut down some strips, and then I like to adhere this onto the inside panel. It's gorgeous paper and I hate to waste it, so yeah, that leftover black piece will probably end up on another card front at some point in time. It's, you know, it's pretty, so why, I'm not going to throw it. I spent the time to make it. But the other thing with this one is you can kind of bring the outside in, and it's just a nice little accent piece on the inside, and it matches the outside. So it's, you know, it's already done. It was just going to go in the garbage otherwise. So, and then of course I'm just going to glue on my glitter paper first here. And I had thought about popping up my actual panels that I had done the pearls on, but I decided I was just going to leave it flat, and then I wanted, because I'd already put my foam adhesive on the backs of my little characters here, and so I was like, eh. The other thing with this one is, because I sprayed it with water and it was kind of rounded, I like to bring in a full back adhesive sheet, and so I brought in some score style tape and then just added that onto the back panel, making sure I hit all four corners very closely, so this helps it not to bow. That's kind of why I was thinking of doing the foam adhesive, because I could have done a foam adhesive sheet on the back and kind of gotten the same look. But since I'd already put the pop-up foam on my characters, I didn't want that many levels of, it just makes it hard to scent. So less layers on the foam tape. So I do add this with a little bit of glue. That just helps me wiggle it if I don't get my placement perfect the first time. And so then of course I'm going to bring in my characters here. I did run them through my brother's Scan and Cut with a .04 border around them. It just works very well. I did, speaking of which, I probably have to go back in and erase my pencil line. So I usually do a pencil line on anything that's not actually connecting. Yeah, I do. So on like the little stream of smoke that's above her cigarette there, I will have to go back in and erase my pencil mark. But I usually just make a pencil mark to connect it, and then it picks it up. And then, you know, as long as I remember to erase it later, we're doing good. Yeah, I forgot. I'll do that when I'm done with the voiceovers today. So for my inside sentiments, I'm bringing in the sentiment from the actual Evil Queens stamp set. And then, of course, I'm going to stamp that front image onto the inside of the card as well. So it was the background stamp on the front, and it's kind of a fun additive to bring into this one. I am coming in with some distress. I want to say I did lumberjack plaid, but I don't remember, and I didn't get it on camera. So I brought in a bright bold red to, maybe it was Festive Berries. It might have been Festive Berries. Anyways, I brought in a nice bold red for the Evil Queen card. And then for Cruella, I end up going with that red again, but I thought it would be fun to do the black on her hair. And so I stamp it, and then I'm going to come back in and just be careful. So I'm going to clean off my stamp. I'm going to come back in with my VersaFine Onyx black ink and selectively ink my Cruella. So I wanted to leave her lips red on this one, and then of course I needed to make sure that I didn't have any black on the sentiment that was still on there underneath. And so this way I could just add that on top. I wasn't exactly on, so it kind of has this drop shadow, and I kind of love how it looks. So she's got a little bit of a red glow to her. She's kind of evil that way. Anyways, so once I had those done, I needed to figure out sentiments for on the front. So I'd kind of looked at some of the other ones, and I just decided this one has been sitting in my thing to use because I might have a Halloween card coming up at the end of the month. And so I was like, oh, this one would be fun, you know, because Evil Queen, Evil Witches, and all that. So I ended up using these two sentiments from that Bad Witch stamp set. I will use black cardstock again, and then I'm just going to use that VersaFine Onyx black ink with after I've powdered it, so hopefully my embossing powder doesn't stick. Now for the Evil Queen, I wanted to bring in this. I have this glitzy purple glittery. It's a clear, okay, with glitter. So I did it this way, and then I realized, I was like, oh, I don't know if it's going to show up. I was hoping it was going to show up a little bit better on the black. It did not show up well on the black, and so I'm going to speed it up here because I end up doing a couple of trials because it's, you know, it's not one that I use a lot. I actually had used it, I don't know, 20 plus years ago for my brother and sister-in-law's wedding. That's why I have it in my stash. And I was like, oh, that purple is gorgeous because it's just like a royal purple with some glitter to it. I didn't think about it not being, you know, opaque. And so I did end up coming in with some white paper here and stamping it with that VersaFine again, or VersaMark again. And I mean, it was better, but I still wasn't totally happy with it. So I was like, you know what? It kind of looked blotchy. So I decided to bring in the black VersaFine and then do it on that one. And I liked that one better. You really don't see the glittery part of it as much, but it's, you know, it's better than it was on the black without. So maybe if I stamped it in white on the black paper, maybe it would have shown up a little bit better. I don't know. Yeah, you can see here that on that black, it really just was not showing up overly great. So I did bring in my guillotine trimmer here to try to cut this one down. I probably should have just found a die cut that would have worked because we all know I can't cut a straight line with the guillotine and or the other one lately. Don't ask. Sometimes I think it's because I don't have my glasses on, but I'm pretty sure it's just user error at this point. Yeah. So I cut out both of these sentiments quick or very slowly because, you know, yeah. I try to use the guide as my line so I can get an even border all the way around. It doesn't always work, but usually it works. This white one just, I don't know. It looks better once I tuck it up underneath. So I added some foam tape to this one, and then because it's like crooked, it's driving me nuts even now. Anyways, it looks better now that it's adhered. Once I tucked it underneath her, you can't see that it's like crooked as bad. Yeah. Anyways, less bitchin', more witchin'. That's what you should be telling me right now. So I popped those on the front, and that should finish up my cards. I mean, these would be cute with some little glitter dots to them as well, but I was trying to keep it simple today. Okay. It probably had enough stuff on it. Anyways, there are my finished Bad Girls Have More Fun, less bitchin', more witchin', and you could have had a bad witch. Anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Keep, you know, being salty. Take care.